Hi, blessings. Kirsten and Anna and Jojo, welcome. A little small group today. It's good to be with you. I love this. Good to sit with you. And I'm happy that you're here. Let me let some more folks in as we explore the terrain of befriending the hungry ghost. And I'll talk a little bit more about the hungry ghost and what that means. But we're going to be exploring, befriending the hungry ghost and healing addiction. So, and the two actually really weave together.
Charging it properly.
So welcome. Let's go ahead and we'll just start with a little grounding. You might close your eyes or keep them open with a soft gaze. We'll take a nice deep breath in through the nose. And hold, sip in a little bit more. And exhale, release. Good, and again, deep breath in. And hold, sip in a little bit more. And release. And one more like that, breathing in. Hold, sip in more, hold. And let it go. Good, and just feel yourself arrive here in sacred space. And just tuning into your present moment experience. Like, what's it like? How are you in this moment? Yeah, what's the emotional terrain like? How's your heart? How's your thinking mind? And what's your intention as we explore this terrain of befriending the hungry ghost? Yeah, healing addiction and reclaiming wholeness. And go ahead and let me know in the chat. Yeah, how are you? And what is your intention? What is it that you're most needing to feel or receive from this time that we have together? Hi, Marlene. Hey, Marilyn. Yeah. Thank you, Anna. See where I can let go of my addictions and to name them. Yeah. I feel energized and calm. Yeah, my intention is connection and to be open to wisdom. Good. Yeah, beautiful. I'm weary and my intention is to find hope for breaking ineffective patterns that don't serve me. Good. Yeah. Yeah, I think I like this. Let's just get real clear about the definition of addiction, shall we? Because the story I mentioned in my email, if you read that, yeah, when we think of it, when we say addiction, it's really natural that we think of the big A's, alcohol, drugs, these kinds of things. But we don't often include, we're all, the subtler, smaller addictions that we all have that provide us with short-term relief, but over time, there's like a long-term consequence or cost. So I just defined addiction in a way that you may not have thought of it in that way, but we can define addiction as something that gives us short-term relief, short-term benefit, But over time, if we keep repeating the behavior, there is a long-term cost. We all have these places in our life. We're all addicted in some way to something or to multiple things. And sometimes these addictions can show themselves like with the big A, like some of our addictions have deeper consequences. Yeah, so typically the more quickly and the more effective the thing is that we use at altering our state in the short term, the more teeth it has and the deeper our craving for it will be. And then oftentimes the bigger the consequence is over time. So there's, things like alcohol and drugs, all different kinds of drugs, right? But there's also social media, shopping, gambling, porn, the addiction to be validated. And often social media serves and feeds this addiction. We're posting on social media in some way. I don't know of a single person who, isn't kind of looking at their likes. It's this like craving. So the Buddha talked about craving, the craving mind. And it's like this sense that if I just get this thing, then everything will be okay. I'll finally be comfortable. I'll finally be okay. I'll finally be able to rest. And so we might think that, it's going to be the drink or the like, or the new shoes or the new car or the house or the food. Yeah, no one can eat just one, right? This is craving. I need it to be okay. It's not just nice. It's not just pleasant. It's not just like icing on the cake. It is the cake. This is addiction. We get confused and we start trading in our attention, our time. We start trading in our sense of ourselves, the trust that we have in ourselves, for this temporary relief, for this temporary sense that, okay, I can relax. Worry has this addictive quality. Like when what we're worried about doesn't actually come to fruition, we can we can relax and we get a bit of relaxation. That's the hook. It feels good for a second. And then the mind jumps in, is like, okay, how do I do that again? How do I get that again? And then we start to get confused. We think we need it to be okay. I need to have this. And then the mind starts to get obsessive, right? This can happen in relationships. This can happen with friends or intimate partners, right? I need them to text me back so I can feel okay. I need them to say something kind to me so that I can feel worthy and valuable, right? So there's just all these different ways that this craving for something outside of me to fill the hole in the soul. We get confused and we think that craving, we give it a lot of power and we give it a lot of attention and we give it a lot of weight. And so as I'm talking about this, you might just think about in your life where this is true for you. And there's no shame here. I think this is like the number one thing I want to speak to in this dialogue around befriending the hungry ghost is compassion. We can link the hungry ghost to craving. So in Buddhist teachings, there's this representation of craving personified through the hungry ghost, which are these deities that have these big bellies and these little mouths. So these big bellies can never be satiated. Our craving okay, take this in. Our craving can never be satisfied. Our craving can never be satisfied. If we are putting our craving on the altar, we will spend our time from cradle to grave, fidgeting, trying to find what that missing piece is, wrestling with the moments that we're alive. We'll be like trying to fix and fiddle with external people and situations and circumstances from cradle to grave, and realize at the end, oh my gosh, I had my ladder up on the wrong building. And so craving can never be satisfied. It's an essential aspect of our experience that we need to come to terms with. That desire that I have for a piece of candy, for chocolate, for a glass of wine, that craving, that desire is even stronger than the satisfaction that I will have when I actually go to eat the chocolate or go to drink the wine. So what we want to get good at or better at is learning to like befriend and hold and work with. Yeah, 100%. You get that, Marilyn. We want to befriend and hold the desire and the craving with compassion, realizing with wisdom that thing actually will not satisfy me. That this is the truth of dukkha, that anything external will not satisfy me. I was talking, one of my teachers was sharing that, someone had mentioned to him, like, well, what if you had this, opportunity to teach, in a big way, like to a big, he's already a pretty popular teacher, but such is the nature of craving. Like we always want more, we always think, well, what if I taught in like a stadium, what if I had millions of people who were listening to me? Right. And so we can look at even craving and desire in our work, or, if we're like a spiritual teacher like me, it's like, it's tempting to think, well, if I have my audience this big, or if my book sells this many copies, right? This is craving, this is desire. It's the same thing. Then I'll be happy. And he said, that would be great. Like I think that would be great if I had more people, if I could have that opportunity. But I know that it will not satisfy me. And that really landed with me. Like he said, I know, but I know in my heart that that's not it. That's not going to deeply satisfy me. That satisfaction that I crave is an inside job. And so to further, talk about this and talk about compassion, I want to share, this poem that I've shared with you before. I share it often because I think it really encapsulates the confusion that we can get into when we give our the preciousness of our attention to the wanting creature, to craving. There's nothing wrong with craving. There's nothing wrong with desire. They're super wholesome. Actually, desire is essential to living, to prospering, to being fully alive. It's good to want things. It's good to desire things. Craving happens when we start to get confused and think that whatever the object of our desire is will create a sense of permanent and enduring satisfaction that will allow me to have a comfortable life until the day that I die, or maybe I won't even die. So that's the difference between desire and craving. Craving is sort of like desire objectified and focused on an object, and craving starts to develop. Then I need this thing to be okay. I need it. And the mind can start to get obsessive around it, right? So this is Kabir. I said to the wanting creature inside me, what is this river you want to cross? There are no travelers on the river road and no road. Do you see anyone moving about on that bank or nesting? There is no river at all and no boat and no boatman. There is no tow rope either and no one to pull it. There is no ground, no sky, no time, no bank, no ford, and there is nobody and no mind. Do you believe there is some place that will make the soul less thirsty? In that great absence, you will find nothing. Stand firm then and enter your own body. There you have a solid place for your feet. Think about it carefully and don't go off somewhere else. Just throw away all thoughts of imaginary things and stand firm in that which you are. So it's essential that we understand this with wisdom, that we apply wisdom to our path of befriending the hungry ghost. The hungry ghost is inside of every single one of us, and it's in no way indicates there's anything wrong with you. It's human and natural to desire and to crave. What we do with it is everything. And so that's an essential piece, like the first thing I wanted to speak to in addressing this in compassion is compassion. And along with this compassion is essential. It just is absolutely essential, because if I am beating myself up, if I have a lot of, the sticky thing with addictions is the shame that comes with it. And because most of the time we aren't honest with ourselves or others about the things that we're hooked on. And we all have things that we're hooked on. And so it can keep these things kind of buried and repressed and hidden. And there's no shame in the hiding either. It's quite innocent. Shame, anything we're ashamed of, makes us want to hide it, that's the nature of it. And so understanding this and having compassion for this predicament that you're in, that we're all in, is so important if we ever want it to shift or change. And in this talk, I'm not going to talk about, there's not going to be a lot of focus or any focus really on what it is that you're hooked on, because we can get really wrapped up in focusing on how to stop eating so much, or how to stop drinking so much, or, how to stop watching so much TV, or which I totally am watching too much TV. Like, I totally own that. Not the best TV either. I'm like, shit, I'm watching a lot of TV. And I just was like, compassion, compassion. It's okay. It's the first piece. It's like, it's like this is hard. And it's important that we see that, our addiction is actually a way of trying to get connection. And so the impulse is innocent. It's really innocent. Let me say this again, because this is new data. It's new research. Gabor Mate talks really well about this. He actually has a book. I'm forgetting the name of it, but it has Hungry Ghost in the title of it. I love all of his work on addiction. And he talks about this aspect of it, that it is a disease of disconnection more than anything. That if we feel like we have love and support and people that we can talk to in our lives, we're much more, the need for external things to fill the hole in the soul loosens up quite a bit, because we're being satiated. In other words, we're being fed, we're being nourished. And so when we are satisfied, when we are satiated, then our addictions tend to quit us. We don't even have to wrestle with them as much. And so that's the first aspect, is understanding that you're just trying to meet an essential need whenever you're indulging imbibing or whatever it is that you do. You're just trying to meet an essential need. It's very innocent. It's nothing to be ashamed about. Okay. So that's number one, compassion. As Serena Sargadatta said in that poem that I quote all the time, your constant need for pleasure and your constant need for pleasure. And he says, your constant search for pleasure and, the ways that you try to avoid pain are the ways in which you're trying to, protect yourself. Your constant flight from pain, this is it, your constant flight from pain and search for pleasure is a sign of love you bear for yourself. There, it came out. I knew I'd get there. And so that's number one. And in my own story that I shared with you with drinking, which was freaking out when I wrote that, and then when I knew it was going out yesterday, I had a little bit of like a moment of like fear of going, oh my gosh, like I've shared that story before, but anytime I share it, there is a natural concern I have about like, what are you going to think of me? Like, are you still going to respect me as a teacher? Like, it's so funny how this stuff shows up. And every time I get to share this story, and I know that it helps people when I talk about my addiction to alcohol, this comes up for me, this, a flavor of shame. And it's an opportunity for me to practice and to work with it and to hit upon the other essential piece of befriending the hungry ghost, which is honesty, self-honesty. Whew. Not easy, but it's essential. And when I say honesty, I mean, it's really good to look at and say, this thing that I'm doing, this false refuge that I'm taking in this behavior, what's it costing me? What's it costing my family? What's it costing my health? Now, we can't ask this question. We can't be really honest with ourselves without compassion. But once we have some compassion going, we can absolutely, if I had not asked this, I would probably still be in the place I was. But it was seeing the cost to my kids and seeing the cost in my relationship with my husband and seeing the cost to my health. Honestly, I was just really sick of being so bloated all the time, which was like a byproduct, and feeling kind of like low energy in the mornings. Because I look back and I realize, I was slightly hungover, or a lot hungover in the mornings. It was only when I was able to do that and really grok that it quit me, that I was like, I'm done with this. This is really not in alignment with the deepest part of me. And when we have self-compassion, when we have a wealth of inner kindness and gentleness, we choose not to harm ourselves. That self-love is fierce. And there's an aspect of it where it's like, I can't honestly do this with my eyes wide open anymore. Yeah, so that's another aspect of befriending the hungry ghost, is honesty. Another aspect is having a vision for what you want that doesn't focus on what you won't have. Okay? So having a vision, oftentimes when we think about giving something up, if that's what we're, or lessening, decreasing our engagement with a certain behavior, right? So whether it's whatever it is that you're thinking about, we can go like smoking, for example. I might think, or social media, which is something that I've given up for 40 days. I'm still having things posted because I don't want people to miss out on my offerings, but I'm not on there. I'm not scrolling. I'm not liking. I'm not engaging with the platforms. And I don't know how many days I am into my social media fast, but I'm probably getting close to 40 days at this point. When I first thought of giving that up, I thought, I'm going to miss out on knowing when I'm going to miss out on important things that my friends are sharing. I'm going to be left out. I'm going to miss out. And that was something that I noticed right away when I contemplated giving it up. And so that's what the mind does. It thinks about, when I gave up drinking, it was like with my clients who are interested in decreasing, say, their alcohol consumption, because it's a common thing, especially right now. And there's, again, no shame in it. At the same time, I remember a client telling me, what about the birthday? Because I was, she was thinking about going 30 days and abstaining from alcohol for 30 days, which is a great practice. But she's like, but my birthday's coming up. And so we can start to sense, like, we have this belief that if I don't have that thing, my life won't be enjoyable. It's really sad. It should bring sorrow up when we contemplate this, that actually we need something externally to feel good in our life is bondage. That is suffering. If there's a hell, that's hell. I need this thing to be okay. I need this thing. What about the holidays? Christmas is coming, right? I've heard that too. And so we have to incline the mind towards what we're going to gain rather than what we're going to lose. It'll be so good to wake up in the morning and not be hungover and have my energy back and maybe lose a few pounds. It'll be so nice, like for social media, for me not to be like distracting my mind with one more thing, and to be able to have the benefit of my awareness, one thing at a time. It'll be so nice to stop comparing myself to everybody that's on, all these amazing yoga teachers and mindfulness teachers and stuff like that I'll get online and go, oh my God, they're doing this and they're doing that. They're doing this and they're doing that. And I'll feel kind of bad, right? It's like, it'll be nice to give that up and to stay in my own lane and to like give myself a leg up in that department by refraining from this habit that can take over my life. I would notice there were days when I would really be in it and be checking all the time, like looking at social all the time, especially if I just made a post, especially if it was a particularly vulnerable post. So, and then also have leaders, like people you look up to, who are living that life already. And that's super important. If you want to, like, knowing fabulous people who weren't drinking was really a critical piece of my quitting alcohol. It's like knowing these leaders of love that were living like vibrant, beautiful lives and having so much fun, and were totally sober. We're not drinking, we're not using that. Anyway, so that was super important for me. I did end up needing to change all of my friends. And that was okay. That happens, and so being aware of that too, we need to like curate our environment to support who we're becoming. Okay. And then the last thing, which I only usually talk about 3 things, but today I'm going to talk about 4. As a practice. Okay. So how do we unhook from the pull of the craving? Well, it's good to so rather than focusing, well, I'm going to stop doing this thing that brings me pleasure, I'm just going to stop. Rather than that, let me be more curious and more aware about the thoughts that I think before and the feelings that I'm having during. Like, starting to notice, when does that craving start to come up? Is it a time of day? Is it, is there some triggers that like have you, right? Like for me, it was like coming home from work. That was a trigger for me to pour a glass of wine. So there's these, and then we can kind of backtrack and go, okay, when does that first start? And we want to like incline towards tolerating that feeling before we engage in relieving it. And getting like, so the way I would work with it I would notice that I had the desire to drink, right? I would start to notice that desire. I'd sense where it was in my body. I'd notice myself getting up and going to the kitchen, right? And I was tracking all of it, like noticing in myself, like the excitement I was having as I was like opening up the bottle and pouring myself a glass. And so I was tracking all of that, and I was like tolerating the sensations of craving before I would take a drink, and like breathing into it and just noticing. I started writing down the times. So I started like tracking. No agenda to quit. It was just like I was just starting to track. And we find that this is really actually a useful tool if we want to change harmful patterns of behavior. Start to track them, because when you start to notice it with your awareness, there's something about the noticing that starts to change it. Same with anything, smoking, shopping, right? If you notice, like if you're an online shopper, it's like, the pull to get online and start to look at Free People's website or Anthropology or whatever your thing is, it's like looking at that impulse and like, okay. And like learning to be with that with a level of kindness and care, but not like, but knowing you have the utter freedom to engage in that behavior. You can fucking eat the whole cake if you want. You can drink 2 bottles of wine if you want. Right? So taking the pressure, because sometimes that restriction, if we feel deprived, it can have us engage and indulge even more, because of the pressure of the deprivation has a certain like residue in the body mind that has us want to relieve it, usually through the same substance that we're trying, or the same behaviors that we're trying to lessen. So just 4 ideas I wanted to share with you: compassion, recognizing the innocence. Number 2, have a vision for what you want, rather than focus on what you won't have. Focus on what you'll gain. 3, honesty, being really honest about the cost that this behavior is having on you and your loved ones, with no shame, just honesty, just compassionate honesty. And then 4, there's this practice of toleration and tracking. Okay, let me like lean into the craving and start to get really curious about how it all unfolds and how it all plays out. And I would notice that what I thought, say, drinking would give me, it never did. It never came through on its promise, ever. Nor does any food, nor does any person, nor does any purchase. It never does. It's, again, this is like the preamble to this talk, and I'm going to hit up on it again. Nothing external will satisfy. And so knowing this, we can have real confidence in our inner dwelling place, in our innermost being's capacity for peace and wholeness. It is an inside job. And we can have confidence in our capacity to feel whole and alive. Without circumstances or conditions changing. That it's in here, it's already in here. We just are uncovering it. Yeah. All right, so let's, we're gonna sit together. I'd love to hear like anything in particular that landed for you from that talk. Yeah. Yes. Yes, Marlene, have a vision of what I want. Yeah, good, Eleanor, to not demonize the craving. Yeah, both of those are so important. Yeah, having a vision for what I want. Yeah, not demonizing the craving, 100%. That's part of the reason I do my best to share these things that are uncomfortable for me. Yeah. Yeah, good. That's right. Yes. Right. So there's a need for attention. And so we can think about like, okay, if the need is for attention, how might I satisfy this in a way that has long-term gains, not just short-term, but long-term? Okay, so we'll be working with this a bit. Some of these things I mentioned in our practice today. Short practice period today. Closing eyes if you like, or keeping them open with a soft gaze and just arriving in the body. The more connected we are to our bodies, the more connected we will be with these changing winds and the feedback that our body is always giving us about our needs, about our, intuition. We'll have access to that when we come all the way into our bodies. It's like so much so, it's almost like you don't have a head. Let your belly breathe like it has nostrils. And just soften. Noticing if you can be 5 or 10% more at ease. Know that you too are worthy of kindness. That no matter what's happened up to this moment, you are worthy of kindness. And we start by just opening to that possibility. Yes, we are imperfect. Yes, we are sometimes run by craving. And that this craving is innocent. We just get confused when it comes to meeting our needs. And you can even, place your hand just on your heart. recognizing this about yourself, yes, because I am human, I'm not always skillful. And sometimes I get confused and I engage in behaviors that have short-term relief and long-term consequence. Now, may I be forgiven. May I remember kindness. And just noticing what kindness, what inner kindness feels like. You don't have to like what you don't like. You don't have to love yourself. You don't have to curate your inner experience at all. Just notice what kindness feels like. Wholeness is here, no matter what. You don't have to find it. Your wholeness is intact, even with your imperfections. And with this view of kindness, reflect on an area of your life where you get hooked. You might notice the emotions, the sensations of craving that are related to this pattern that you get hooked by. Letting yourself taste the chemical cocktail of craving. Doing this with compassion, with kindness. Notice what happens in your body. Notice what your mind does. You don't have to fix or change any of it, just sitting with that. Inside of the heart of kindness. There's nothing wrong with me for feeling this way. And I know that this will not ultimately satisfy me. So just sensing the craving, along with this wisdom that whatever the craving has focused on, it doesn't ultimately satisfy. And so letting yourself just stay more with the sensations than with the object that craving gets hooked by. And allowing whatever arises to arise. The pleasant sensations, the unpleasant sensations. And then sensing, oh yeah, underneath there's this tender, vulnerable part of me that really needs my attention. Bringing this kind attention, this loving presence to the vulnerability and tenderness at the heart of craving. It's like holding a little child that's crying. And you might scan your body now and just relax. Moving away from this reflection now and just coming back to the breath, to the soothing quality of the breath. And allowing this relationship of inner friendliness to come with you. And whenever you're ready, you can blink your eyes open. I lost connection with all of you for a little bit. I don't know for how long, hopefully not too long. But luckily when I came back, you were here. Well, some of you, not all of you stayed, but yeah, as we come to a landing place in our time together, let me know, what landed for you, and how that meditation was for you, or anything that's really coming through as something that's landing for you. Please do, if you could help me out here, share these sittings that we're doing on Tuesday with at least one person who you feel would really benefit from joining us. I'd love to grow our Sangha. And so imagine if each of you brought one more person, how awesome that would be. So just one person, there's probably one person in your life that would really benefit from this. And it would mean a lot to me if you would share that with them. So that's my request of you. Do share these, you can share the link. Anyone can join with the link. And 9 a.m. on Tuesdays PST. Also, your donations really make a difference, and I appreciate those. Let me read your chat. That meditation was so healing. I received a download of wisdom. I discovered that I am truly addicted to. Yeah, it was interesting when I did this one. I was like, oh, it'll be interesting to see who shows up, because it's like, ew, I don't really want to hear about addiction. But a lot of us don't want to look at this. So I was sort of prepared for a lower attendance today. I realized addictions I didn't know I had and saw the truth about them. Beautiful, Eleanor. Oh, yeah. Compassion always for self or others, for the cravings. Beautiful. Yes. Thank you, Marilyn. Awesome. Okay. So I thank you in advance for your donations, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Please come back on Tuesday at 9 a.m. Please share this with at least one person, and invite them to join us. And let's expand let's grow our Sangha together. And sending you so much love and many blessings. Be well. Namaste. You can take yourself off mute and say goodbye.
Thanks, Karina.
You're welcome.
Namaste. Have a good week, everyone.
Bye. You're welcome, Anna. Bye, Eleanor. I know. Well, bye, Marlene. Bye, Jojo.